All right, what's up, guys? Today, I'm pretty excited because I've been watching Speed Academy, and in particular Dave, or DP as he's known, on the channel, and two friends, of which I'm sure he has many. Um, since 2014, I think we worked out before we started recording. So, yeah, if you haven't been on this Speed Academy, what have you been doing with your life? These guys are awesome. I'm super honored to be able to talk to them. So, welcome, David. Hello.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to meet you digitally in person, even though
Yes.
you're incognito. I did see you earlier without the helmet on, but I'll
Nah.
erase that. I'll erase that part of my memory before we're done. So don't worry. I have no idea.
Yeah, I've got the Men in Black thing happening. Don't worry.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, it's great to meet you, and I love your Instagram page. I've
Thank you, sir.
been following.
That means a lot. That means a lot. The first question I've been asking people is, before cars, what did your life look like?
Man, I don't even know if I remember my life before cars. I grew up with a car dad, so he was building MGs and Triumphs and then Camaros and Corvettes in our home garage when I was just a little toddler and playing street hockey in the street as Canadian boys do. And so I was always around cars. And when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I used to go watch him autocross in like local, large parking lots. And then as I got a little older, I used to go with him to the racetrack, drag strips or road courses. And then I started to compete with him when I got my driving license in his Corvette. So that's really what got me into the motorsport side of things and what got me probably interested in cars as well. But there was a point in my life where I wasn't that involved in cars. I kind of went on an academic journey where I did 10 years of higher education and was actually teaching at a university here in Hamilton called Master University while I was doing my PhD, and was really planning to be a university professor in the field of anthropology, which has nothing to do with cars. But at the same time, I was racing, and I started to write as a freelance journalist for some motorsports magazines, both here in Canada and in the United States, and was doing more and more of that and getting more and more burned out on academia at the same time. And I then got a job offer at a magazine called Modified, which was in Toronto at the time, and decided to take that and take a break from my PhD, which I was almost done. I was probably 80% of the way through writing my dissertation, which is like your final paper.
Yeah.
And I walked away at that point because I was just so burnt out on it, and figured I'll take a year off. I'll go work for a car magazine for a year, and then I'll come back and finish it. And now it's been almost 20 years, and I went back and finished it, and I just kept playing with cars. So that's actually how I met Peter, through my magazine, who I work with now at Speed Academy. So he was already an editor there for me 6 months to a year before I got hired as an editor. And eventually Peter got promoted to editor-in-chief of the magazine. And so he was sort of overseeing the content and the direction of the content. And I was basically writing most of the content. And we were collaborating on a lot of the tech content. I was writing like the feature stories and a column about technical subject matter. So being sort of a nerdish academic, I liked deep diving on anything technical related to cars or motorsport. So that's how I spent 10 years of my life, and Peter 11, I guess, of his. And then when that magazine got shuttered in early 2014, we decided to start Speed Academy just to kind of keep doing what we loved, and kind of initially envisioned it as a blog more than as a YouTube channel. But the website part, although we had some sponsors sign up early because we had relationships from our magazine days, really we saw much growth and interest in the content on YouTube than we saw on the blog. So, at that point, the decision was kind of made for us that we were going to focus more on the YouTube than on the website. And, that obviously has been more and more the case as the years have gone on. We still do have the website still there, speed.academy, and there's lots of good stuff on there, but we haven't really posted anything in months, and it's really kind of a second thought or a third thought for us as far as our priorities with content production. So it's certainly YouTube first, and then probably Instagram second, and our website third. So Yeah, that's the little journey that I've been on for the last 20 odd years.
Yeah, and so that magazine you said you were talking about, what the genre or subgroup of cars was that focusing on?
Sorry, what genre was the Modified magazine focusing on?
Yeah,
It was a tuner magazine basically. So like I don't know if you guys have you had a magazine there called Auto or like Fast Fours,
yeah,
kind of like that. It was Japanese cars predominantly,
yeah,
and it was the tuner car scene. So any kind of modified Japanese performance car would have been the focus of that magazine at the time. We covered motorsports events that were relevant to that scene as well. So like the time attack scene in America was predominantly Japanese car based because that form of motorsports kind of came out of Japan. So we covered that. We had partnerships with a time attack series here at the time that was called Redline, which is now called Global Time Attack.
yeah,
We covered the drift series really from day one. Pete was at the very first, pro drift event in the States, which was a D1 event that they hosted at Irwindale out in California. And then we covered Formula Drift for many years through the magazine. I went to almost all the time attack events and a few of the drift events. Pete covered more of the drift stuff on the West Coast, and then we had freelancers covering it elsewhere in the country. But so yeah, it was kind of your typical tuner car magazine where we had like say 3 or 4 project cars that would be featured. That some were show cars, some were street cars, some were track cars, and then we had technical articles where we were installing performance parts on our own project cars. So, which is kind of what we do at Speed Academy now. So really the project car section of the magazine is what we enjoyed most because we got to build our own cars, and we just sort of took that idea over to Speed Academy and kind of ran with it.
yeah, yeah. And so that's what sort of fed you into, yeah, you just sort of kept, and because your channel is, yeah, predominantly JDM, but also with a few Euros thrown in there.
Yeah, well, Pete, my partner at Speed Academy, is born in Poland. He came over here when he was about 10 years old. So he grew up around all the European cars, and really they didn't see Japanese cars there, and they would have had very few American cars. So, he grew up kind of loving BMWs and Benzes and that sort of stuff. So that explains his affliction with loving BMWs now and how, he likes to buy these cars that he tries to save, and they're all they're all a nightmare to work on, and I'll have like a lot of problems that Japanese cars don't tend to have. But I stick with what I know. I'm mostly a Honda, Toyota, Mazda guy. Those are kind of the 3 brands I've had the most experience with. Though I've owned a number of Nissans too. I had a G35 and I've had a Maximo before that. So I've dabbled in pretty much all the Japanese brands. I've had a Subaru as well. So I've stuck mostly with Japanese cars. Though my dad was a Corvette guy and a Camaro guy, so I did have some exposure to those cars, and I do appreciate them. I enjoy driving them. But I'm just more drawn to the Japanese cars, I think, for the build quality, the design they use, their engineering philosophy. I like. They're simple and easy to work on. So I think that's probably why I'm drawn to them. And I raced a Honda here in Canada for about a decade. It was an EG hatchback that I had every variant of Honda motor in it you can imagine. I started racing with like a D16, and then I went to a B16, and then I went to a B18C, and then I went to a K20, and I went to a K24, and then I supercharged the K24, and then I put aero on the car, and it was my life's work for many years.
Well, speaking of your life's work, Connie, the Celica.
Yes, in America, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the Celica, depending. Yeah. But yeah, like, how long has that build been? I feel like I've been waiting for it to be finished.
Yes, a long time.
For years.
I bought that car in late 2015.
Right.
And then my buddy Moose and I started working on it in my home garage here in like early 2016.
Yeah.
And we worked on it like 1 day a month for 6 months at a time. And then I'd get busy with other stuff and he'd get busy with other stuff because it was really kind of a side project. It was never a focal build on Speed Academy's channel.
No.
And then when Pete and I moved into our current shop space, I decided to move the Celica over to our shop at that point and really make it more of a proper project car on the channel. So Pete and I worked on it together there, and the videos sort of became more professional, less sort of like 2 dudes in their home garage, which some people like and some people don't. Some people are nostalgic for that old echoey garage thing that we were doing initially. But yeah, it's been a long-term you like the old. I mean, it's more relatable, isn't it? Two dudes in their home garage.
I understand that would I was just thinking lying on your back in a low roof garage would not be fun.
No, it wouldn't have been great in the chicken coop where we were, but I enjoyed working on it at home. It was like a throwback to the way I worked on cars all my life until we started Speed Academy and rented our own shop space for the first time. So I still like working out of my home garage because it just, it has that feeling of home that you only get in your home garage. But
yeah,
I won't complain about the space we're in now. I mean, it's awfully nice to have a lift and all the tools in the world, and a tire installing machine and a lathe and a Viper honing machine. Like we can do pretty much anything in our shop now,
including washing your cars inside.
Yeah, we do wash inside because there's drains in the floor, and you don't want to wash them outside in the winter because they'll freeze so quickly here. So it's and even in the summer we tend to wash them in the shop, just because we don't necessarily want to wash a GTR in our driveway and advertise to the neighborhood what we have in our space. Not that we're paranoid per se, but better safe than sorry. No point in hanging a "Steal Me" sign on the front door there. So we're in kind of like an industrial area. It's kind of a nondescript building, which is nice. We don't have any signs on the building, so we try to keep it low key that way. But yeah, honestly, we do operate with the doors closed all the time, just for privacy and security, really. And
yeah,
sometimes when we work with the door open, like it's really hot, we'll have people just like randomly wander into the shop. And like local fans have kind of figured out where we are, and there's sort of a community in Hamilton that know where we are now, and we're okay with that because they all know us and we all know them, and we that they're looking out for our best interests anyway. They're not looking to rob us.
Yeah.
But it's more just like the random thieves that come by, like stealing catalytic converters out of people's cars and stuff that you don't want knowing what you have. So that's kind of why we do it that way.
Yeah, Mighty Car Mods, have you heard of them?
I have, yeah, I love their channel.
Yeah, well, they same sort of thing. They have to hide. They have to stay. Yeah,
I remember. Was it Mom's house was getting like broken into when they were working out of her garage and driveway? I remember a hard time with that.
Like letterbox stolen and random things.
Yeah, luckily we haven't had anything like that happen, but you never know. So better safe than sorry. We lock 1,100 locks when we leave, and we have an alarm, and we do what we can, but we're insured, so you just hope you don't have to use the insurance.
Yeah. So for people that are living under a rock, like I said, and haven't seen your channel, can you sort of sum it up in 5 minutes and like, do you have time to go through all the cars you have?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown. I mean, our channel is basically, if you're familiar with Mighty Car Mods, I mean, it's kind of similar. They build project cars. We build project cars too. Our build styles may be a little bit different than theirs, but I mean, they build nice, clean street cars, and we try to do the same. I come from a motorsports background, so I tend to try to turn everything into a race car.
Yeah.
Peter races too, and we've done a lot of racing together. Like we did Targa Newfoundland together, which is a same style event that you have in Australia with Targa Tasmania. I don't know if you have one on the Targa. Do you have a Targa Australia event as well, or just Tasmania?
It is, but it's not as big as Tasmania.
Okay. Anyway, we've had events here,
but it's not as big as Tasmania.
Yeah. I love that style of event, and I come from like a touring car background, so I raced Canadian Touring Car Championship. We do some, track focused builds, but we also do some street car builds that are really just built to enjoy as a nice street car. We try to kind of balance those two interests as much as we can, and like I said, we're mostly a Japanese car channel, but we do some BMWs or maybe the occasional American car. We did a Mustang. We did an S197 Mustang build, maybe back in 2016 or 17, around that era. But currently in the garage, we have, we just finished an FDRX7 that we built, like a high compression 13V4 with a really responsive 7670 EFR turbo. Prior to that, we built a A80 Supra, again with a kind of like a response build philosophy rather than like the 1,000 horsepower Supra that everybody wants. We kind of did the opposite. We put a a G30 turbo on it and built it for like a super responsive 500 wheel with help of Ben from Arctech Performance in your motherland. So Ben's become a good friend of ours, and he's really clever guy. He's building some amazing like cast manifolds. He's starting to work directly with Garrett to build turbos of his own with his own housing designs as bolt-ons for specific makes and models. So you can buy like a direct bolt-on Garrett Arctech Performance Garrett for your Evo 789 or for your SDI. So yeah, he's doing some really innovative stuff. So enjoyed working with him. And what else do we have in the garage right now? Oh, we've got the R34 GTR, probably our most valuable car. Although Pete also
casually sitting up the back
right,
back left, back right, depending on where you're looking.
Just chilling back there. That build almost killed me because that's a very complicated car. We'd never worked on one before. And I think we had the oil pan on off that engine about 6 times before we were confident that we'd done the right thing with like the oil pump and the pickup and the baffles. And oh my God, those things are RB26s sound amazing.
Yeah.
And that car drives beautifully, but working on them is not a good time. So we're going to just park that one for a year and let it, age like a fine wine. And we have an S15, a Sylvia R-Spec that we're about to start a build on. So Pete's about to go on a little vacation, but when he comes back from that, we're going to get started on that build.
And it's a color that you haven't revealed. I watched your last episode, and
you got to guess. Do you want to guess the color?
I'm thinking like it's a dark red or like a deep blue or like that's my guess.
I like those options. Those are both not correct, but yeah, I won't spoil the surprise for you. It'll be fun to see people's reaction to it. It's it looks amazing. It's got a lot of metal flake in it, but it's also kind of a subtle choice, which fits Pete's personality and build style. So had it been my choice, I might have gone a different color, to be honest. But seeing it now, I fully appreciate its choice. It looks fantastic. So once it's lowered and on the right wheels, it's going to look killer. I mean, an S15 is a beautiful car, and it's going to look really nice when we're done with all the R-Spec aero on it. And yeah. It's going to be a fairly straightforward
build. Regular S15 wheels, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's got just the regular, the standard, the stock S15 wheels or S14 wheels.
That's right. Yeah, it's just got the OE S15 wheels on it. And it's at stock ride height right now. So with that fresh paint job on those wheels and that ride height, it doesn't have the sex appeal that it's going to have, but we'll get there soon. Yeah, it'll be nice. And what else do we have? We have an Evo 6 that we blew the motor up in a couple of years ago. We had a catastrophic engine failure on the dyno, which still makes me sad.
Video, guys, go watch it. Go watch I mean, I know it's at your expense, but it really was a big failure.
It's a massive failure, and we've never fully told the story of that, though we will when we rebuild that car, which is going to happen this spring. But the short version of that story is we accidentally put about 4 times too much ignition timing in it and just detonated to living to hell. So big bummer, just an honest tuning mistake. And I built that motor myself with the guidance of HB Academy's engine building course. And when we were breaking it on the street, it just felt so good with no timing in it. It felt amazing. So I was just pumped to see this thing on the dyno. And then as soon as we put it on the dyno, mistakes were made about the way the knock sensor was wired up. And Sasha, our tuner, also had his knock box hooked up too close to the transmission, so it was picking up fake knock. There was a whole series of mistakes that were made, and then the base map had too much timing in it, and it just went from bad to worse from there. So unfortunately we blew up a freshly built motor that had just been broken in with like nothing but love. So I still wake up in the middle of the night with tears in my eyes over that one, but I'm really excited to put the car back together again. I think of all the JDM legends, as we call them, in our space. That's my favorite. I just love the size of that car, the way it drives. It's a special car. I tell people it's like a Type R that's all-wheel drive, because the way it drives reminds me a lot of like a classic DC2 Type R, which is another car in our shop, a car we built last year on the channel, and is one of the cars that sort of has a piece of my heart. I'll never sell that car. I had one back in the early 2000s, and I sold it because I was commuting to Toronto and I was destroying this car that I loved. So I sold it thinking I would send it on to have a better life than getting destroyed in a terrible commute to work and back. But I always regretted selling it. So it was nice to get another one, which belongs to a good friend of mine, to save that car because it had been in an accident. So we kind of like brought it back to life with a new paint job and put all the good in it. And yeah, I love having that car in the garage. What else do we have? We have well, we have Pete's 930 Turbo, which is again his European upbringing showing its face. Super cool.
Although it has a, does it have? No, it doesn't have an LS. It's got the Porsche motor in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does have the standard Porsche motor in it, though it was fully built by a shop in Arizona called TurboCraft. They're very well known for building these air-cooled Porsche motors in the States. It makes like 550 at the tire. It's insanely powerful for that little four-wheel car.
Yeah.
It peaks down to maybe 4 or 5 feet, but even then it's terrifying to drive.
Yeah.
Bit of a refresh on the car actually shortly, alongside my 77 Celica, which we're going to put the final assembly on. So it's finally back from body and paint with custom fender flares and a carbon fiber roof and all that good stuff. So we'll drop the beams back in it, put a full interior in it, get it retuned for the bigger ITBs that I picked up for it. Yeah, it's going to be nice. I'm really excited to have that car finally finished as any project car has ever, and just enjoy driving it this summer, which would be your winter.
Yeah, our winters get down to a very chilly, like maybe overnight it would get around the 30s, but
no, man, you're just rubbing it in. It's
no, sorry.
I'm on the side. We're getting freezing rain tonight, so yeah, I know.
Yeah, rust. Yeah, I really cringe whenever I see you guys hoist the car up, and I think, oh, how much rust is going to be under this car.
Well, if you just saw our Tundras here, oh man, the rust.
I did.
Crazy.
And I'm like, that can't be a cheap pickup truck, and yeah.
No, they're not inexpensive. I mean, mine's an old 2008, but it's probably still worth 15 grand. And we gave it new life for sure by doing this rebuild series on it. So it's driving.
Yeah, I love the lights that you put on it. I think the headlights really freshened it up.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the whole front end. Like I love the TRD grille, and the headlights are fantastic, and even the taillights just modernized the whole so much. So yeah, really happy with it. What else do we have in the shop? I'm sure I'm missing something. We have an Evo 9. That's Peter's.
Yeah.
We're going to build that late this year, and I'll probably pick up a wagon myself to kind of do a wagon build off with them. So
yeah, I saw that on that video, and when I was really cheering when you guys were saying, should we do a year of wagons? And I'm a big wagon. I love wagons, so I was like, yeah, do it. But I really, what would go with an Evo 9? Like, I don't.
Great question. I mean, I've thought about it. I really like the Lexus IS300 Sport Cross, as it's called here. I think it's an Vita in Japan.
Yeah,
is that right?
And that's what we would get. We would have to import one if we got one.
Okay. Did you get one in Australia or no?
No, and I'm very angry that and I'm disappointed that we didn't get. I don't think we got the Accord wagons. Like,
oh, and you didn't get them either?
No,
we didn't get them.
And Jamie from Auto Garage that I talked to last week told me that they also came in manual, which was really salt to the wound for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't get them here either, but we could import one from Japan. They're old enough now. If you got a first gen, what is it, a CL7 code, I think. Anyway, the first gen Acura TSX here. So like that's old enough now that I can import one in. So it would be right-hand drive. But yeah, I could import a manual one. They're very rare, but they're there. So with the IS300 or the they're only automatic here, so we would probably do a manual conversion on it, and then maybe chuck a turbo on the 2J because it's a 2J. So if I'm gonna try to keep up with an Evo, we gotta make some power. So that's probably what I would do if I went that route. But I love Volvos. I'd love to build like a V70R or an 850R.
Oh,
Always
850R wagon. Oh,
like the British car style. I mean, I love those. I think
yeah,
they're really cool to build. I'm not sure it's really the right fit for the Evo 9, but I mean, a wagon is a wagon. So, yeah, I've even thought like maybe I'd build a Honda Wago van just as a total curveball for people.
yeah,
Uh, you know, there's lots of ways you can go with
yeah,
things. So, yeah, I'm not in a hurry to buy anything because really we're not going to do that until late this year. So I've got time to
yeah,
see how the whole car market here shapes because, you know, the way the economy is going, you just don't know. If I buy a car now, I might end up paying half that for it in 6 months, the way the economy is. So we try not to buy things too far in advance right now.
And how often do you overturn your cars?
I mean, that's a good question. With YouTube, you know, we're on this treadmill where we got to keep building. So
Yeah,
I wish we could keep every car we build, but it's just not financially feasible for us. So we're starting more and more to sell them reasonably quickly after we've done building because they're still fresh on our viewers' minds. So we have kind of a built-in audience that we've advertised to in the build. So it's easier to sell it when the build is still fresh.
yeah,
So yeah, like with the Supra, the 80 Supra that we just finished, it's for sale now. The RX-7, we're going to do a little bit more to in the springtime, but once we do those sort of like finishing touches on it, that'll go for sale. Pete just sold his E39 M5 station wagon. He started life as 40i, but he converted it to 5 spec and sold that to some.
That I like that one. Yeah,
Super cool build. I mean, it was a very in-depth, challenging build because we had to like redo the floor pan to fit the dual exhaust in it, and there was a bunch of work that went into that build. But it was a lot of fun and gratifying because it turned out very nicely and a great driving car. Not as nicely as my LS 430 Lexus though. That the Flex, this is still my favorite undercover car that we've ever built. Like I didn't think
yeah.
of that car so much, but I can't sell it. I love it too much.
No. I wouldn't sell it either. And you came up with the perfect name. Flexus is that's the perfect name for that car.
It is the Fluxus, and it's funny. Wherever I take that car, it gets a ton of attention, which you wouldn't expect with like a big body, low key luxury car. It's not flashy. Yeah. It's black, but it's lowered on some flashy wheels. But something about that car just connects with people. It doesn't matter whether I'm like at the grocery store, I'm at the gas station, at the zoo, and people will be like, "I love this car." So it's weird what connects with people sometimes, but that one hit the right note somehow.
Yeah, and but I think you forgot to mention, and I'm not surprised because it's probably Pete's. The M3, I think, is the last one that I saw.
That's right. Yeah, we did just buy an an E90 M3, so an M3 sedan for a sedan build-off that we're going to be doing this spring. So I'm shopping for a sports sedan to build as a rival to that car. A lot of people are expecting me to buy like an ISF. So it would be like a V8 Toyota versus a V8 BMW. And I've certainly considered that, but I've actually decided to go kind of a different route. I'm going to start with a rather inexpensive car, have a lot of it to make it fast.
Yeah.
And Pete's with a more expensive car, and we'll have a lot less budget to work with. So we're kind of like cap it as, call it $30,000. And if he bought his for 20, he's got 10 in mods he can do. And if I buy a $10,000 car, which is kind of what I'm targeting, then I'll have a $20 budget to build it. And I don't want to give the surprise away just yet because it's a bit of an unexpected choice, but on paper it should compete very well with the M3. I think around our racetrack it might be the faster car. So we're going to find out. These two will get built as street cars, but with a finale at our racetrack here, Toronto Motorsport Park, where we'll set lap times in both cars and see which one's quicker. Which is something
and I think that
with our build.
Yeah, why I'm drawn to you. I mean, you've said many things, but of why I'm drawn, that sounds more exciting to me because to get two V8s, like it could be, but I think that's a shorter story. I think that's more of a, this is a V8, this is a V8, this. Oh, that one's quicker. Okay, fair enough, done. But I think
similar.
Yeah, and who doesn't love an underdog? The cheaper car with the
Exactly. It's a very interesting story, and that's I think the reason Pete and I are both attracted to it because it's it's two ways of coming at building a sports sedan. Do you start with the more expensive car but have no budget or little budget to try to personalize it or make it better in however way you want to define better?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you modify a car, you don't make it better.
No.
You might make it louder and harsher and potentially a little bit faster around the racetrack. But there's some big trade-offs in the game that we play, which we're well aware of. So
yeah.
I like the idea of starting with something cheaper that I can thrash on and not feel guilty about because it's not a valuable car. And I can also make it fast with the budget that I do have to work with. So yeah, I think it's a more interesting story and an unexpected rival, I think, for something like an M3, which is a good thing too, I think. So yeah, I'm looking forward to
that. That's usually how I ended my last interview, is to say what's coming, but you've sort of covered that. Is there anything else that you wanted to say I mean, I think you've already hooked us all in with all the things that are coming, but is anything else we need to know about?
No, I think that covers it. I mean, if you jump on our YouTube channel, the last video we published just a few days ago is kind of our 2023 plans. So if you're curious what we've got planned for the channel, then I would say, yeah, jump on over there. Don't be afraid to hit the like and subscribe button, everybody. As a YouTuber, I'm supposed to say these dumb things. But I'll give you a lowdown on what our plans are. And obviously you can follow us on Instagram as well. We're pretty active.
Yeah, I'll leave all your links below.
Yeah, thanks.
So people can find you. But yeah, I know it's probably getting late for you there, and
I got to put
going on.
You know about that. You know about that dad life. So, but thanks. It was great to connect. Really appreciate chatting, and thanks for sharing our story with your audience.
No, thank you for coming on. As I said, I've been watching for I guess 8 years now, and so yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed catching up. Thank you so much.
Anytime. Take care.
Yeah.